ladies and gentlemen, Sanjay is the Managing Director for Accenture Labs in Namma Bengaluru and leads the company's software engineering, research and development, technology for good initiative. Sanjay is the regional lead for Accenture Labs in Asia Pacific. Sanjay is a 2007 Eisenhower Fellow. At Accenture Labs, he leads the research and development in a number of areas in software engineering, analytics, and automation. So ladies and gentlemen, to take us through Tech for Good, please welcome Mr. Podar. Welcome, sir. Nice walk. Swag. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Wonderful. Good afternoon. So I hope all of you are having enough energy after the nice lunch. How many of you are carrying a smartphone like this, or any phone? If you have a phone, can you just stand up for a second? Just stand up if you have a phone. If you don't have a phone, you can sit. Okay. Okay, so before you sit, I just want you to know that this piece of device you're carrying has several thousand times more computing than the NASA Apollo mission computer. And you know what NASA did with the Apollo mission computer. You can take your seat. So the thing that got us worried in the labs which I lead is with so much of computing in our pocket and so much of computing and cloud power and network availability and the cost of all this technology is plummeting, what are we doing with this technology? Are we using it to solve the tough problems of humanity? Or are we trying to create the next dating site or more Facebook-like sites? So I think the Tech for Good program started with a bunch of technologists and scientists in my lab, and this is the question we try to answer. How do we steer technology towards solving some of the tough problems faced by society today? This is an interesting statement we are making about the state of the digital transformation. Many of you may not agree that it's the dawn of the post-digital age, because we are still so excited about the fact that, hey, we are doing digital transformation. But digital transformation means different things to different people. If you know about digital, originally it was all about SMAC. You know what is SMAC? Social, mobility, analytics, cloud. And today, most businesses, and I think there are a lot of businesses being represented here, you must be using the SMAC stack. Is there anybody here who is not using SMAC? If so, you can stand up, but I'm sure everybody is using SMAC. In some sense, digital transformation, most successful companies today or companies in business have adopted. And when everybody is digital, digital no longer remains a competitive differentiator. But I don't mean to say that digital is dead. I'm simply saying that it's the dawn of the post-digital era. I'm trying to say that there's going to be a lot of more excitement coming our way. Many people say that we are overwhelmed with the changes we see around us. Just wait. Just wait another few years. You have not seen anything like what's coming. The first revolution was around steam power. Second revolution was around electricity. The third industrial revolution we saw with information technology. And now we are in the fourth industrial revolution. And what we'll see is a host of technologies, artificial intelligence, distributed ledgers, also called as blockchain, augmented reality, quantum, material sciences. Now, all this is going to make a huge impact to our society, the way we live and work. And this will empower organizations, businesses, governments, and us, we individual people, to an extent that we can solve some of the big challenges that we face today. For example, The world today is more prosperous than ever before. We all agree. Much more prosperous. But at the same time, we also know the fact that 8 people in the world have more wealth than the bottom 50% of the world population. We are 7 billion of us. So there has been huge inequities in the distribution of wealth. So the future, therefore, becomes that we need to build a world which is far more inclusive and far more sustainable. And that's what people are also talking about as globalization 4.0. Now, if that is the big challenge, what is the role of technology? Can technology make the world more inclusive, more sustainable? There are many things you can do, and in the process, you're trying to bring good to the world. There are many things you can do with help of technology in this sphere. The word dark is representative of a new set of technology tsunamis that has hit us. And they are very, very helpful in the context of societal change. The D in the dark is nothing but distributed ledger, also called as blockchain. Now, when you try to solve societal problems, for example, people don't try to solve the problem by themselves because they are too difficult to solve. Some of the big problems around poverty, education, healthcare, women empowerment, they're difficult to solve problems. No single company can solve it. To solve this kind of societal problems, you need to therefore form an ecosystem of partnership with government, with academia, with startups, with large businesses, each bringing their expertise in the game. Now, something like a distributed ledger or blockchain, for the first time as a technology, is allowing you to create decentralized application, an application ecosystem which can be trusted because no single person owns it, right? The other strength of these technologies, for example, if you look at artificial intelligence, it's very useful because AI at the very core is based on probabilistic algorithm. It is not deterministic. And therefore, you can do a lot of interesting things with data science, artificial intelligence, with a high degree of probability to figure out where do we allocate resources, which is that one girl in the village who is more vulnerable to human trafficking, so that you can go and focus on her and protect her, right? So all these technologies are immensely useful. They bring a kind of value proposition which was not earlier there. Or you look at extended reality or the R of dark. You can use virtual reality to bring education or bring experiences to people who otherwise are away from those sources of experience. So we in the lab have done a number of useful experiments, social experiments with this technology, with a number of social innovators, government, civil society players, and I'm going to talk about all of them. The other interesting thing that happens is the whole idea of hyper-personalization or individualization. Why is it so important in the whole aspect of social change? For example, if you are providing empowering women through health, through a number of different programs, today it is possible with the help of this technology to bring all those programs in the form of a continuum of care. Take example in India, in a government runs program like ICDS, Integrated Child Development Service, or you may have programs around to prevent maternal death, or you may have programs to support education of the girl child. Now, the moment you individualize it, because every person, as you know today, is identifiable with Aadhaar, right? So if you can personalize it so that it's no longer a program for 100,000 people, you know exactly who is getting what value and what is the point of intervention. So every societal programs can be individualized, and they can be delivered the moment they need it. If the girl child is going for education, the program can help her then, for example. So the next thing is these technologies are also very useful for amplifying the capabilities of the community workers. Or many of you who are close to the social sector, you know that the last mile is delivered with the help of lot of community workers like ASHA workers, Anganwadi workers, civil society players, non-profit, and you can easily amplify their capabilities by giving them applications which have a lot of intelligence at the edge, for example, and they can collect rich quality of data, analyze those data, and provide services at the edge. So there are many such use cases. And finally, as you form these ecosystems, you also have this whole responsibility of educating the ecosystem, because one of the risks I see in my work is people have not been enabled or educated to use these technologies. So there will always be risk of things like data privacy. Without any malicious intent, they may still expose very valuable data and make people vulnerable in the process. So there's a good amount of education required. So in the post-digital world, you suddenly see a lot of power coming to organizations, to individuals, and now they can use this to create a future market which is much more inclusive and sustainable. So now that means you can solve some of the unsolvable problems. And these problems are increasingly going to come into the market, and there will be ecosystems formed to solve this problem. What I want to do is to give you an example of what are the current set of projects we are already doing in the lab, and that will give you a sense of what I am talking about here. So if we can play the video. So this is the essence of tech for good, innovation where it is needed the most. We want to steer tech towards solving problems, not just using social media and watching videos and entertainment. That's important, but that should not be the only purpose. Now, I have described to you that digital and now in the post-digital world, organizations, whether government or business or we individuals, have all become in some form much more powerful, right? But just because we are powerful and we can do a lot for the society is not reason enough for many people to act. What's in it for me? At least for businesses, there is a lot if they can master this art, right? And the best way for them to understand the value of making this an integral part of their business strategy is kind of projections we see from the United Nations around a $12 trillion additional revenue by 2030. Now, if you can form ecosystems and if you can meet the deep needs of individuals, of people, of the society, which is so well articulated in the 17 SDGs, there is a lot of business value in treating this as a corporate social opportunity, as opposed to what many of us do today. We do our work and then we say we also do corporate social responsibility, as if to say our work that we do we are not required to be responsible there, right? So there's a whole mindset change. We need to look at the whole aspect of corporate social opportunity. But there is one more very, very interesting reason why this change will happen and why globalization 4.0 will see this change even more. And that is the fact that trust is fast emerging as the only competitive differentiator. From everything that I have said so far, you will realize that if you want to personalize experience, create experience at the right time for your consumer, if you want to empower your employees, you need deep insight about your consumers, about your employees, about your business partners. You need access, for example, to that data. And who would share data with a partner whom they do not trust? Even today, when you do your e-commerce shopping, probably there are some platform you do not think twice before providing your data. But there may be other platforms where you will be very afraid of sharing your data, lest it is used for different purpose. So what is going to be very, very differentiating is the marketplace looks upon you as a trusted brand. That is extremely important. And increasingly what has happened is it's not just that business that has got digitally transformed. Even we individuals have got digitally transformed. In the past, the only stakeholder businesses were concentrating to keep them happy was a shareholder. Every quarter, you want to make your shareholders happy. But now, you know, with the adoption of digital and the adoption of social media, every person counts. Because if you are found to be not so responsible, you will see a huge backlash. And we saw what happened with techlash, right? It's a word that got introduced last year in the Oxford Dictionary, and today it's a commonly used word. So if you're not seen as a responsible person who can be trusted, even though you are very successful, you will come under pressure. So trust in that sense becomes a very important competitive differentiator. So all these forces will ensure that in the globalization 4.0 or industrial revolution 4.0, there will be a strategic shift of businesses to make social good or to be responsible or trusted a very integral part of the business strategy. Okay, now, a lot of theory. Now, let me give you some example of one of the projects, just to walk you through it, and then maybe it gives you a sense of how this really works. So, how many of you have heard of Akshaya Patra? Other people? Okay, there's fairly a large number of people who have heard about Akshaya Patra. Okay, let's do a thought experiment here. This is the third day of the World Congress, right? Imagine the event has been organized, the same set of speakers, maybe even more inspiring. There are a few more inspiring speakers coming here. A great job done by the organizers. Everything the same, the venue is the same, everything is the same, even better. There's only one difference. And the difference is you won't get your breakfast and lunch, you will only get dinner. Okay? Day one, dinner attendance, 1,800 people. Afternoon session, I don't know how many people are attentive, but day one, 1,800 people in dinner attendance. You spent your day one without lunch, without breakfast, without any food, because this whole venue will have no food. but you're listening to folks like me. Day 2, repeat. No breakfast, no lunch, you will get dinner. What will be the count? 1,800 will be, how many of you think will be 1,000, or 800, or 500? Will there be dropouts? Yes? Okay. Day 3, today's day 3. Do you think there will be so many people in this room? I'm sure not. Because when we are hungry, we cannot listen to anything. We cannot pay attention to anything. We only think about food. And this is what happens in thousands of schools in India, where children come to school without breakfast. And then we say, why are there so much dropouts from schools in India? And thanks to our government, they understood this problem and they launched the midday meal. So there's a lot of funding the government gives for midday meal. But the government has no means to feed millions of children. So that's where the ecosystem comes to play. And we have organizations like Akshaya Patra. Akshaya Patra feeds 1.5 million children every single day in 15,000 schools. Right? They are funded largely by the government, also by private, but largely by the government. But that's the massive social work they're doing at scale. And they have been featured in a number of different media programs around how they run mega kitchens with a lot of automation. They are one of the good success stories. When Accenture Labs and Akshaya Patra came together, the challenge was that the price sensitivity is so high, even if you can reduce the cost of the meal by 1 paise, Akshaya Patra can feed 4,500 more children in school. So we asked ourselves, what's the value of all these nice digital technologies if we can't improve the productivity and the quality of Akshaya Patra? And then, with help of Akshaya Patra, we did a unique experiment in 3 of their large kitchens in Bangalore. We called it the Million Meals Project. And the key thing to know is when you innovate in such a way, so here's an example of business, civil society, nonprofit, and government all coming together. So when you innovate, you cannot sit in the glass walls of your lab and say, let me do something for Akshaya Patra. So our researchers were in their kitchen for quite a number of months to understand the way their supply chain works, their cooking happens, the meals are forecasted, and we don't really give a deep thinking around what kind of challenges can be there. Remember, 1.5 million meals have to arrive on time in those 15,000 schools every day. Children get a break to have their lunch. It just can't arrive any time. Remember, you cannot send the same food every day. It cannot be the same food. You can't send rasam to a school in Bihar, right? So the menu has to be customized to the location. Remember, you cannot send the same food every day of the week to the same school because children will get bored. They need a variety of menu. So there's a lot of interesting use cases here around individualization, about making it fit for purpose for the people you're serving. So we co-innovated with them. We use artificial intelligence for the meal demand prediction, to figuring out what is the volume of meal required, what is the nature of meal required. We used IoT, sensors developed by a startup in India to monitor their large cauldrons. Cauldrons are huge drums where khichdi is cooked and the vegetables are cooked, and we enabled, and that's a human plus, I said, the cooks, the chefs, with simple designed handhelds where all they had to do was they get the next alert about when to add the masala, for example, right? When to add what's the next step of the cooking process based on what menu you have selected. Now, what that meant is we ended up creating a digital twin of their mega kitchen, which resulted in energy saving for Akshaya Patra, better utilization of their kitchen capacity, We then went ahead and used the D from the dark, the blockchain, to create a blockchain for all schools that Akshay Patra will send food to, so they can record when did the food arrive, what's the quality of the food. So that makes it much more auditable, for example. Now, this whole project was to give a roadmap to Akshay Patra to help them get the next productivity which can be obtained from digital. And Akshay Patra reported a productivity from the 3 kitchens we worked with them, 18% productivity, which translated to millions of more meals, more than what we had originally targeted. So the key point here is you have to co-innovate with your, the social innovator. You have to also enable and educate them, because all the cooks and chefs, you have to tell them how to use these technologies, for example. And you are doing this by harnessing the collective intelligence of the whole process, right? So, so this is the Akshay Patra case study. I will request a video to be played so that you can see what happened on the ground. Video, please.
India is the second most populous country in the world, with a population of over 1.2 billion people. It is also one of the fastest growing economies and has the youngest workforce in the world. But at the same time, India currently ranks a lowly 97 of 118 countries on the Global Hunger Index. Through the Tech for Good initiative by Accenture Labs, we are helping Akshay Patra expand its outreach and help them feed more children across the country.
Akshay Patra is a strategic school meal program with a vision that no child in India will be deprived of education because of hunger. We are currently feeding 1.5 million children in over 13,000 schools in the country. 30% of the world's malnourished children are based in India. So we are trying to tackle this so the child will get a healthy meal and come to school and get good education.
With its midday meal scheme in government schools and government-aided schools, Akshay Patra has served over 2 billion meals since its operations began in the year 2000.
Mega Kitchen is a complex industrial environment, and we use the human-centered design to cut through the complexity and bring in diverse technologies like machine learning, IoT, blockchain, and enterprise mobility to address key friction points, resulting in a seamless cooking process and that is rapid, repeatable, and reliable.
Every area that we improve, all the efficiencies that we bring in to the operations will help us save money, and money means more children can be fed under this program.
By looking for delays, wastage, underutilization of equipment, errors, and a lack of real-time visibility, we identified areas that can be further optimized, automated, and streamlined. We start by analyzing the daily demand for meals. A location-aware and machine intelligence system helps predict the demand requirement for each school each day. We then automate data collection and collation, enhancing its efficiency. Next, IoT-based temperature monitoring reduces the cook-to-consumption time. Lastly, we worked on an essential part of Akshay Patra's operations, invoicing and audits. Our solution is based on data trust, creating trust networks to ensure accurate reporting and invoicing. The information required for audits, like feedback from the school, is shared via blockchain, enabling a high degree of transparency with all the stakeholders.
For Akshay Patra, every paisa saved is 4,500 more meals, which will allow us to give 1 million more meals per year with the combinatorial power of all the latest technologies, AI, IoT, blockchain, and Industry 4.0. So this is the Akshay Patra Tech for Good story. and I'm very glad that last week, Akshay Patra celebrated their 3 billionth meal milestone, which our Prime Minister personally went and fed the children in school. And the key thing to recognize here is these numbers are coming much more rapid, in a much more exponential way than before. They now want to achieve a 5 billion meal target very soon. So not only is there a growth, but the growth is exponential. And I think this is kind of a roadmap of what can be done with technology. You know, these are kind of problems that need sustained effort. You can't just do it and go away, because you want to do these innovations at scale. They will impact millions of lives. And I think the value of Tech for Good is making those kind of impact, social impact, in a win-win way for the business, so that the business is trusted more, it is more profitable, and when we bring all these diverse ideas together, that makes a business very valuable for the society. With that, I will close my talk here, and thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you so much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to invite on stage Anupriya Acharya to kindly present a token of appreciation to Mr. Podar. Hi, Anupriya. Everybody, Anupriya. Everybody, Mr. Podar. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, ma'am.